It's official. It's above 0 in the day and it gets cold at night, but nothing that a low tunnel or a cloche couldn't fix. However, if you're going to sow seeds or transplant, the soil is still frozen solid. And despite the long hours outdoors and the slightly warmer temperatures, that soil is still rock freaking hard. Let me tell you, I got a sign for the election and she don't go on the ground. I don't know if that's a sign for me voting for the wrong person. Very well could be, but it's just kind of like laying on the ground because the ground is very frozen and the snowbanks are like slowly disappearing. So every day I have to like go back and set him back up. I don't know. Go vote, but don't get a lawn sign, because apparently it doesn't work right now. Anywhoosers, so today's video, we're gonna go over exactly how to get the soil workable faster so you can get into the garden quicker. Okay, so before we get into the methods you can use, we need to take into consideration exactly what kind of soil you have, because depending on your soil, you may not need to get as aggressive with this, or you may not need to combine multiple methods to get the same results. However, if you are on the extreme ends, you may need to combine methods, or you may need to literally utilize the most aggressive methods out there, which actually come with downfalls, which we'll discuss when we get to them. But regardless, all of this is to get into the soil sooner. And for me personally, there has to be a sacrificial lamb, and you'd be shocked how often it comes in the form of your soil microbes, mostly because they reproduce really quickly. So, I mean, population control. We don't want the microbes to think that they're boss. I'm the boss of my garden soil. Anyways, I think I am. Okay, so let's look at our soil specific. Now, what we're looking at when we talk about the ability for a soil to change temperature and actually heat up specifically is the specific heat capacity is what we call that. Now, a clay soil has a higher specific heat capacity, meaning it takes more to get that warmer. The reason for that is it holds more water, and that water that it holds, when it's already frozen solid, means it's gonna stay in that state for longer than a sandy soil would. So a sandy soil has a low specific heat capacity, meaning it doesn't hold as much water and therefore it can warm up much quicker. Those gardeners, we very rarely have clay and sand. We're usually somewhere on the soil textural triangle, this thing right here, and we're usually like a loam clay or a sandy loam, something like that. But if you think you have clay in there and you believe it's anywhere on this side of the triangle, I'll try to make it so that you can see that, then you are in the high specific heat capacity end. If you have anything on this side of that triangle, then you're on the low specific heat capacity end. Now, the exception to this rule is kind of the new age gardeners, where we've chosen to go soilless by using compost, manures, peats, quars, whatever the case is, just not mineral soil proper. Now, this also has a high specific heat capacity, and that's caused by its ability to hold on to moisture, but it also is an insulator. And we know this because we use it to insulate the soil to keep it cool when it comes to using any of those as a mulch to protect from heat or to actually keep in that soil. But it actually plays against us in the event that we're trying to warm that soil up. So if you have a clay loam soil and or a organic soil with 50% plus organic material in it, you have a high specific heat capacity, and that means you may need to combine methods or you need to go for the most aggressive methods. And then if you have a sandy soil or less than 50% organic material, then you would be on the low end of this. Now, the exception to this rule would be that your actual bed itself is in a shadier spot currently based on where the sun is in the sky, and that means that you're probably on the high end solely because you don't have the power of the sun on your side. So now that we know the differences in soil, let's talk about the methods you can use. Now, these aren't in any specific order, so just keep that in mind. First step is finding a bed, whether it's a raised bed or in ground, that's not completely covered with snow. The reason for this is because we need to get to that soil surface as close as possible. So what you may want to do is actually remove that snow, pop it into a barrel so you can use it for watering later on, or remove it and put it on a garden that you're not worried about how quickly it decides to turn around and warm up. One is the least aggressive method, and it's not that it necessarily doesn't work. And it's not necessarily something I would implement. However, it is something I would consider when actually building my garden or wanting to do some sort of upgrade to the garden. And that is a windbreak. So what we're trying to prevent when we're making windbreaks is advective cooling. So what that simply means is the wind coming across the top of the soil and then actually pulling the warmth out of it, mostly the warmth caused by the sun outdoors, or just in some cases the ambient air. Now, this advective cooling is obviously something that can also remove moisture and heat in the summertime, but right now it's definitely something we don't want. And very rarely do you actually want advective cooling or just wind going across our soil at any point in time. So the method here obviously is to somehow block the wind from hitting it. And many of the methods that we're going to look at actually just naturally do this by osmosis, by the method itself. But ways you could actually implement this without doing anything fancy would be in the event that you're using a raised bed. Now, a raised bed is of course going to warm up much quicker, and this is particularly true for taller, skinnier raised beds. Those are going to warm up the fastest. Short, stout ones that are a little bit wider will be the slowest, and then your in-grounds are hands down going to be the slowest. But if you're doing a raised bed, one thing you could consider is not necessarily filling that bed all the way to the tippity top. You can actually recess it a little. There's no rules on what height you have to fill your beds to. And if you're connected to the soil via a lawn or an old existing garden, you don't need a huge amount of height. You can just let the roots hit the earth and then go down as needed. So what this means is you're just not gonna fill your beds as full. And this will allow for preventing advective cooling via the wind, because it's going to give you a barrier. Now you can step this up even farther by putting burlap over top of the bed and kind of suspending it, tucking it in, if you will, etc. and so forth. But just that little bit of a recess can make a big difference. So cloches, high tunnels, and low tunnels will work, but they're not the best actually. There are several other solutions that are much better. So you're probably thinking, Ashley, that heats. Like, I know that heats. And it does heat ambiently the air, but it's not as effective at actually heating the soil up. And while it will, over time, through various different mechanisms, it's not the best solution. So if it's something you have and you're dealing with a large area, then absolutely apply this, particularly if we're talking long lengths of low tunnels being needed. And this is, I mean, obviously it's going to work from the sense that it pulls the sun in, the sun heats the air ambiently, which in turn heats the soil, etc. and so forth. So that is one method. But here's one interesting method that does work and actually goes against everything I've ever recommended to you guys. But sometimes as a Canadian or a cold climate gardener, you gotta do weird shit. And this is one of them. Active compost. So behind me here is a very non-active pile of snow. If you have an above ground bin or plastic container that your compost is sitting in and you know it's actively composting and actually throwing off a significant amount of heat, throw that on top of the bed while things are still warm and working their way through, because that heat will actually make its way into the soil and help make things a little bit workable a little bit faster. The process of degradation and decomposition will just by osmosis cause heat, and this heat will warm the soil beneath it. So what this means is if you have an active compost, you can top dress with this. Will help things warm up much quicker. Now, big caution sign here, we don't want to put too much for various different reasons. Number one, we don't want to reduce the nutrient uptake of the plant in the future by having a whole bunch of partially decomposed plant material in the soil, because that can cause issues. And then we also don't want to put too much because we don't want it to be heating indefinitely and actually cook your plants, which, keep in mind, if you go this route, it may be a double-edged sword where it just continues to heat and now you have to remove it all because it's too warm to even put seeds into or do anything with, because it's going to cook the seeds, which is the purpose of a hot compost. So keep that one in mind. And then the other side of this is that if we put too much too soon, it cools down, starts not decomposing, then we end up with an insulation effect. And we obviously don't want insulation because we don't want to insulate that cold. We want it to be exposed and then obviously reduce it. Is a method you could try, and it can be effective. We just need to monitor it a little bit. This next one sounds funny, but actually hot water can make a big difference when it comes to warming the bed up. Now, I personally have a Genius's home I purchased it off of, and I actually have hot water plumbed the outdoors because I'm pretty sure they used it to wash their vehicles with. But regardless, you could use that and actually thaw out your beds really quick without causing any problem. Now, the key here is once you've applied that warm water, we want to immediately cover it with like a cloche or a low tunnel of some sort to just kind of insulate it and keep that heat in there. We don't want it to like suddenly go hot and then really cold again. So we want to put a cold frame on, and we want to support it after that process. We want to let it cool down a little bit and then actually plant our seeds or our plants into there. But that hands down is going to be the quickest, regardless of your soil type. But Ashley's lazy, and so my top choice is actually solarization and or just the utilization of the sun to warm things up. So I got these off of Amazon. You could literally get them from anywhere. And like I said, we want to make sure that the bed doesn't have any snow on it. Now, this is opaque. Ideally, you would have something really clear because opaque and white will work. It's just a little bit slower actually when it comes to how quickly it warms things up. It's not the best for solarization. So if you want to solarize, meaning you want to remove weeds or some sort of disease you're concerned about, this is definitely not the right color. I'll link one below, and if I forget, remind me. But this will work for warming the soil up. And the reason I picked this is because there's 6 of them, and they're really cheap, and they're really huge. And I don't need to solarize this. I don't have any weed issues in these raised beds. So the key when doing this for solarization is you want it as close to the soil surface as possible. And you want to make sure that it's not lifting up. So you can use lawn stakes, you can use wood, you could use logs, whatever you desire will work. And in a section where the cloth ends and you need to continue onward, make sure you overlap the cloth quite significantly, and then you should be just fine. You don't want any holes in this, nothing. My warning for this one is that it can and will destroy microbes in your soil. Now, that is up to debate as to whether or not that really truly matters, because microbes will repopulate that space incredibly quickly. You'd be shocked how fast actually. So that I don't concern myself with too much. Same with like any sort of critters that are in there, like earthworms and that sort of thing. They're probably not that high up in the soil surface to begin with because it's furrows in AF. They're below the frost line right now, so they're probably okay. But if that is something you're worried about, particularly like pollinators, for example, remove the mulch. Don't have any mulch there because you will cook them. Just kind of put it in a nice little gentle pile off to the side and they'll be fine. And this one is effective. I would say it's somewhere between 1 to 2 weeks, depending on when you actually decide to execute this. It's 1 to 2 weeks before you can actually get into the ground, and it works. I personally think it works wonderfully. I use it all the time, every year, have for years. Gate crew, you have to let me know in the comments down below if this is something you have used or what methods you have used to actually get in the garden sooner. Help out the fellow cold climate gardeners out there, because we're always looking for ways to get into the garden a little bit sooner. I want to thank you guys for watching. That is my most recent video, and that is what Google says you should watch. So I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.